My name is Claire Everhart. I'm 36 years old, and 2 days before Thanksgiving, my father showed up at my new home with a locksmith, a forged rental agreement, and a look on his face like he'd never once been told no. "Open this door, Claire," he shouted, "or we open it ourselves." My mother stood behind him filming. My sister carried 2 suitcases like she already lived there. What none of them knew, 3 detectives were sitting in my library, and the tenant agreement my father was waving at my security camera. It was already evidence in a federal fraud case. Before I tell you what happened when that door finally broke, hit subscribe, because this story gets a lot darker before it gets better, and you don't want to miss where this goes. For 29 Thanksgivings, my parents forgot my birthday, skipped my art shows, and told relatives I was too difficult to invite places. Then I bought a house without their money. Suddenly, they remembered my address perfectly, but the house wasn't even the real target. What they'd already done with my name 2 years earlier was so much worse, and I didn't find out until a stranger mailed me proof. My father had one gift: rewriting history. Say something cruel, wait 6 months, retell it, and somehow he was the victim. My mother cried on cue. My sister nodded along. By the time I was 19, every hard memory I had came with an official family version where I was the dramatic one, the confused one, the ungrateful one. When I was 14, they left for a holiday trip and forgot to wake me. I found out from a note on the fridge asking me to feed the dog. 3 days alone, canned soup, snow piling up outside. That year's family video, my father said I'd chosen to stay behind for a boy. At 23, I brought my portfolio to Thanksgiving dinner. My first gallery show was 2 weeks away. My father's business partner asked who I was. Before I could answer, my dad laughed. "That's Claire. Shows up when there's turkey." Everyone laughed. I'd been living 10 minutes away, calling every single Sunday. I stopped correcting the story because every correction became a new accusation. Silence was the price of staying in that family, and I paid it, until the year my father's company started collapsing and my sister needed a title she hadn't earned. That's when I learned exactly how far they were willing to go to save themselves, and exactly what they'd already signed my name to without telling me. My sister Megan joined my father's construction firm with 0 experience. Senior title, company card, no oversight. She burned through it. A leased sports car, a failed crypto scheme, gambling weekends. At dinner, my father toasted Megan for carrying the family name, then asked if my art was still just a hobby. I'd illustrated 2 published books and sent them $12,000 the year my mother swore the company couldn't cover payroll. None of it mattered. Megan could burn the house down and stay the favorite. I could put out every fire and stay the disappointment. That night, I opened a document titled "The Letter I'll Never Send," and I started writing. Then I disappeared. New number, frozen credit, private mailbox. My mother texted twice about my attitude. My father left 1 voicemail about how isolation is a symptom. Megan wrote exactly once. "If you're not coming for Thanksgiving, at least send Mom money for the caterer." For 5 years, I worked like my life depended on it because it did. I built my business 1 invoice at a time. No family money, no safety net. And when I finally found the house outside Asheville, I bought it through my company, under a name my parents had never heard. I thought I was being careful. I had no idea how careful I'd actually need to be, because an envelope was already on its way to my mailbox that would change everything. Inside, a loan guarantee for $1.8 million, supposedly signed by me 2 years earlier. My signature, close, but the middle initial was wrong. The address on it belonged to an apartment I'd moved out of 7 years before. A note was clipped to it. "Call your father before this gets embarrassing." I called my attorney instead. Within a day, we confirmed it. My father's company had used a forged guarantee from me to make their loan look safe to the bank. I'd never owned a single share. When I confronted him by phone, recorded, he said, "You've always had a selective memory." When I pointed out the wrong address, he accused me of trying to destroy what would someday be Megan's. Then my mother called with a softer voice and a harder threat. "Your history of anxiety could complicate things if this becomes legal." That was the moment I understood the whole plan. If I fought back, they wouldn't call it fraud. They'd call it me being unstable. And 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived announcing my parents would be taking possession of my house by Thanksgiving morning. My attorney didn't flinch. They want you to panic or resist so they can call you dangerous on camera. So we let them walk in front of witnesses. Detectives would wait inside. So would 2 reporters who'd been investigating my father's company for months. A locksmith, already warned the lease in his hand was part of an active fraud case, would stall just long enough. On the morning itself, a black SUV pulled up. My father, my mother, my sister with 2 suitcases, like they'd already won. My father knocked once. "We're taking possession today, Claire. Don't make this harder than it has to be." I answered through the intercom. "You don't have permission to enter this property." He turned straight to my mother's phone. "As you can see, our daughter is refusing lawful entry. We're concerned about her condition." That line, her condition, was the exact threshold my attorney had been waiting for. Because inside my father's folder wasn't just a lease, it was a medical letter, supposedly written by a doctor I hadn't seen in a decade, and the real doctor had already sworn on record that he never wrote it. What happened in the next 60 seconds is the part my father still hasn't forgiven me for. Megan handed the locksmith the fake lease. "The owner is emotionally unstable," she said. "Our attorney told us not to argue with her. No attorney had ever reviewed that document." My father, impatient, told the locksmith to open it anyway. When he hesitated, Megan grabbed the pry bar herself. The frame cracked. The alarm triggered. My library doors opened and 2 detectives crossed the entrance hall. My father's face went from confusion to panic to blame. In that order, out loud, on camera. He accused Megan of handling the paperwork wrong. Megan turned on him. "You told me it was real." My mother turned on both of them. Within minutes, the story they'd rehearsed for 30 years collapsed in real time, because none of them had planned for the one thing they never expected. That this time, I had kept every receipt, the forged loan guarantee, the fake medical letter, the recorded phone calls. My attorney laid it out piece by piece, and for the first time in my life, I watched my father run out of new versions of the story to tell. But the sentence that actually broke me wasn't his. It was my mother's. 5 words that finally told me the whole truth about why they'd shown up that morning at all. "You have so much space," she said. "We only needed a few rooms until the company recovered. They hadn't come because they missed me. They'd come because they'd run out of everything else." My father was arrested that morning. Attempted burglary, forgery, conspiracy. Megan cooperated to avoid charges. She lost her job within the week once the truth came out. My mother wasn't arrested, but she lost the house, the company, and every story she used to tell about who I was. 6 months later, Megan emailed me. "I assumed you'd forgive us eventually. You always had." I wrote back 4 words, "I am not available," and blocked her. The broken door frame is still standing in my hallway. I never fixed it. I hung a small light above it instead because I want to remember exactly what it costs when you finally stop being useful to people who only loved you conditionally. So tell me, if your family only remembered you when they needed something, would you open that door again? Or would you finally let it stay closed? This story is a work of fiction, created for entertainment. If it resonated with your own experience, that's worth paying attention to.